This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
Good morning, truth seekers and true crime junkies. Welcome back to another episode of Hit the Road Jack, Finding the Zodiac. Today, we have a great show for you on the 72-hour eve of the 9/11 events, another anniversary coming around for that. So I thought we would kind of hold a little vigil in regards to the 9/11 events and discuss some possible solves in these communications. I'm going to go ahead and start today with backing up to last week, and we're going to take a look at the presentation where we left off, and then we'll climb right on into the information I have to deliver today. We talked a little bit about this Zodiac call to a radio station in Oklahoma City. We know that Jack is very, very informed about radio stations. We know that as a ham radio operator, it means that he knew how to get communications around through teletype and other avenues. At the same time, we also know that there are several communications that actually are written aside from two newspapers, but also two radio stations, which seems to be a Zodiac MO in many of these crimes. The reason for the interest in the one that was in Oklahoma City is because Jack actually has a P.O. box in Oklahoma, and he has family ties to Oklahoma City. And we'll be talking about that later in 1980 when he is listed as an heir in a will. And it also is kind of confirmed by what Dennis said, which was that Jack maintained a P.O. box in Oklahoma because that's where he would pick up marijuana, which, interestingly enough, that means that marijuana was going through the post office. I'm not sure how it would be unbeknownst to them or how it could get around without somebody being involved with that. But it leads back to the ability to get things around through the mail that Jack was very, very well at doing. Another article that really interested me was one that said Zodiac called a clumsy criminal. It does say that these mistakes, as well as others, that the police wouldn't elaborate on, says that the boast of being in the area where we were searching, while we were searching, it is a lie. So, I think his name was Lee, Sergeant Lee or something like that, is indicating that the Zodiac Killer was lying about having been in the park while they were searching for him, which would be interesting because then how would the Zodiac know what they were doing or be able to repeat what it was that they were doing in his upcoming communications if he didn't or wasn't there, or he didn't have some type of inside information through law enforcement. But even more interesting was this section down here at the bottom portion right here that says knife attack leads investigators to consider that the Zodiac may be a latent homosexual. His cryptic writings and hand-lettered boasts don't indicate this, but the way in which he wielded the knife does hint it. The knife fell again and again and formed the mysterious, and it's spelled incorrectly, symbol like the crosshairs of a gun sight that has come to be Zodiac hallmark. So clearly this article was written after he accepts the Zodiac statement, or that he is the Zodiac. The newspaper is stating that the Zodiac Killer stabbed his insignia into Cecilia Shepard based on what this article is saying, unless there's another victim out there that they're referring to, but they do head it with Berryessa. So this is obviously, again, after September 27th or the attacks at Lake Berryessa. I'm going to check to see if there's any consistency with other victims. This might have been information that was released, or it might even just be sensationalism by the newspaper. I'm not sure. It's the first time I'd heard that he actually stabbed in the pattern of the Zodiac, but I'm going to keep my eye out for those kind of things. I believe we already talked about one victim who, while she was stabbed all over the chest, that they specifically missed the breast area on purpose. Was that in order to form the design that he was looking for? Because the circle with crosshairs might validly have missed those areas. I toyed around with the idea for a long time that the Zodiac Killer communications needed to be printed in the newspaper to get them to his handlers or co-conspirators, and that there's possibility that the newspapers were facilitating these messages going back and forth between individuals that are part of a group. Hearst seems to be somewhere in the mix always. In order for the newspapers to take him serious, he needed to kill or commit some type of a crime that was heinous enough in order to get that message printed. I've also considered that he may be the author for a group of individuals, or he is the postman, if you will, and some task for a higher authority. The new theory that we're going to be looking at might explain why some believe that the Zodiac Killer took credit for crimes he didn't commit, and why some believe that there is a group of people involved. I was discussing this week's show with my boyfriend about new messages sent to the Zodiac Killer through the newspaper, and he came upon a legitimate hypothesis based on Zodiac as a whole. And as the message to the Zodiac Killer, we will see, is called Libra, and the two upcoming messages to Cancer and Leo, which I believe discusses the D.B. Cooper upcoming hijacking, and the My Name Is cipher that clearly outlines the Taurus symbol 3 times with 13 symbols. That might very well be that one Zodiac as a whole or a group, and the 12 constellations are the individuals who are involved. Jack had a fascination with Constellation Mountains in Arizona, and he told a story to Dennis that 3 men, including himself, had gone into these mountains, but only 2 came out, which would have indicated to Dennis that one of them had been killed. So what if the statement, "This is the Zodiac speaking," is meant to refer to a group and is signed off as a group with the Zodiac Killer symbol? I do not recall at this time if there are any communications that specifically says, "I am the Zodiac Killer," and intend to keep a lookout for this reference as we go through the continuing communications. It would reinforce the notion of the "we" that was found in the Zodiac Killer, or I'm sorry, in the John Benet Ramsey note and the Anthrax 9/11 2001 communications. As we're going to see in Harriette Sucher's Solves, it indicates Jack is telling on others who committed crimes that he did not. It was almost proposed that he was the mailman as well, so which this might explain how he has the ability to get communications moving in the manner that he did. This, coupled with Harriette Solves, is going to bring up some interesting questions. And today we actually have Harriette Sucher with us and Terry Batcher.
Yes, good morning again.
Good morning. Well, that was my opening right there, and I wanted to kind of just touch bases on some things that you and I talked about. You had indicated that you believe that these codes have been used for hundreds of years, correct?
What was that again? Because now
you believe that
cutting it out. So go ahead, try again.
You believe that these messages have, or these codes have been being used for years.
Yes. And
so I took that trip back as early as 1934 in regards to Bob Lord's murder on the docks back in the East Coast, and he had a note that was pinned to him that said he accidentally knew too much, too bad, and a sign off of the Zodiac gun sight.
Yep. Well, that's Zodiac, apparently, according to what we're going to very quickly see, just like I thought, that it's based off of the design of Washington, D.C. is designed by Charles L'Enfant during the Revolutionary War era design of the Zodiac, because everybody that came to this new country or was about to was coming from all over the world and needed the Zodiac to go back and forth. So I would say that this is has something to do with a pre-Nixon getting into that. But oh my God, Nixon was very much involved with a lot of this.
And that's what we're going to talk about. So let me get us going on this then.
Yeah.
So this next hypothesis I plan on exploring is based on the Zodiac group or movement. The afterthought of sending a key code to Sergeant Lynch might even actually confirm this, because it had already been publicly announced that the Hardens had a solve to the 408. So what was the need for this letter if the message had been solved? What was the need to send multiple messages to multiple locations? These are all questions I hope to answer, and Harriette Sucher believes that these codes have been running through an ongoing group for hundreds of years, which might explain the earlier messages, like I said, about Bob Lord. Dennis's recollection of a group of men coming into the memorial where Jack's ashes and urn were there for viewing and paying respect, had picked this urn up and walked off with it without saying a word to the family or anyone else. And everybody kind of just stood there with their jaws agape, wondering what the heck was going on. And then Dennis stated that they returned that urn after approximately a week. Dennis also indicated at one point in time that he thought that they were going to close the case and that he was going to be meeting with people in South Lake Tahoe. And when he reached there, he found himself again surrounded by men in black, as he called it, so suits and ties. And they had indicated that he was in a safe place as long as he only visited the Zodiac Killer crimes and didn't look into anything else, which he didn't really know what that meant. And he was really kind of insistent on me sticking to the Zodiac. He didn't want me to go off into these other tangents. However, I couldn't help but noticing that the handwriting had those similarities, right?
All involved.
Right. And I might help confirm the Z at the bottom of the Sherry Joe Bates messages as being a sign off for a group. You know, everybody wants to argue whether or not these are twos or these are Z's. But this might have been before he adopted, or maybe he didn't want to associate just yet the gun sight symbol as the group has used into these communications at that point in time. But we're going to be looking at some decodes, and we're going to be talking about how that group might operate. Going back to last week, we had the personal ad in the San Francisco Chronicle on August 27th of 1976. So this is a wee bit ahead of its time, but I want you to understand how these are rolling out. The personal ad read, Zodiac, your partner is in deep real estate. You are next. The Imperial Wizard can save you. Surrender to him or I'll terminate your case. R.A. Well, while I was on a message board, I looked at someone who had mentioned that that wasn't necessarily some type of a threat, as much as if you read it backwards, it would read as a threat. And so I looked at that, and well, let's just say because the Oranchak's solve on the 340 cipher indicates there was an entire section that was written backwards, there is a good hypothesis that this message too reads backwards. And that person wrote, in that case, the poster indicated that the message would read, R.A., I'll terminate your case. Surrender to him. The Imperial Wizard can save you. You're next. Your partner is in deep real estate. Zodiac. So it would make it sound as though the message is actually coming from the Zodiac or the group the Zodiac, right? And that brings us to Harriette's solve, which
I had this done a couple of years ago. So anyways.
Right? Yeah, when I hit you up about it, I was shocked to hear it was something you had already done, because I am just now recently seeing something like this. But do you want to go ahead and tell us? I know that you used all of the information that was in it, and then you did the anagram system to it, correct?
Exactly. I was seeing by then a lot of hints about Marilyn Monroe. The Z would usually be for Zodiac, but this time he used it also for Elizabeth. There's actually a B that you can barely see in there, but I don't want to appear force-fitting. Where it says terminate, it looks like a B and a T together, but most people are going to say, well, we're not sure, so I left that out. That was a couple of years ago. So,
and we are seeing misspellings even in the newspapers. All right, so what does that message tell us?
It says, because this is when Ford is now the president, but it's really President Nixon's administration. But it's saying, President Nixon, we received Elizabeth Short, AA, which is Arthur Allen, August 7th, it's 8/7/1962, Marilyn Monroe pictures, Treasury, I think it's 7 pieces of mail, but Treasury Department, Zodiac era mail, documents in order, yours truly, Terrence et Uxer. I was wondering why that, and then I looked it up. It means Terrence and his wife at the time, which is Nora. So
wow.
So he's saying that they got the information, and that these pictures, you're going to find out later, these particular pictures were used to lure Sam Giancana into complacency that he's going to be okay because Nixon's out of office now and blah, blah, blah. They actually lured him with those. And so now those particular items are being moved, and they've finally got them about a year later. So
you're a Treasury Department. Of course, you've had messages before that you believe yielded that Jack Terrence was either an IRS for the Treasury. Yeah. You've also had Nixon show up in several of your communications.
I would say 90% of them. Oh my God, go ahead, keep going.
That's okay. Zodiac era mail might again indicate that he is typically the mailman or the person responsible for the communications in these particular crimes. And then let's see here, Arthur Lee Allen. So we have this Arthur Lee Allen pop out, and to me that's a pop out because this is in 76. He is actually being looked at as the Zodiac Killer. So you believe that he was involved with some portion of these items, and murder. That the murder, and maybe his heart attack was really a heart attack, and maybe his heart attack was quite like many other heart attacks, which some people perceive to be a poisoning or a suiciding. So either way, we have Jack coming out, and it's funny because when I read the message backwards and it came up to be from Zodiac, your sign off is Jack Terrence, and that is who we believe is the Zodiac.
He's the main Zodiac guy, but there's a huge they. Oh God. So anyway,
right. Yeah, well, if there's a constellation of they, there's a large they.
There's we got 10 names I can name off, but that's not why we're here. So
but we'll visit those later, and we'll definitely see how they hold or ring true to whatever's going on. Now, another message to the Zodiac after the Lake Berryessa killing was this particular message that went through the newspaper, and it says a message to Zodiac. So I'm continually finding these conversations that are going on in the newspapers. I looked at it in both ways. I looked at it and compared to the solve that Oranchak came up with, and I found that there were several of the symbols that were missing, which means that it was not likely a code that was formed using the 340, which would be consistent with the fact that it had not been solved back in that day. But we had the key code from Sergeant Lynch, and that application to this particular message was actually a good one. So when I did it based on Oranchak solve, like I said, everything here with the question mark means that these symbols were not used in this particular these particular symbols, were not used in the 340 cipher. However, these symbols were used in the hardened cipher. And after I applied that particular method to this message, I came up with Zodiac call Libra 4331077, or Zodiac call Libra. And I'm not sure the zip code or where it was that he'd be pointing this particular number to, but 4331077 is the phone number he's being told to call. I was more struck by the fact that it says Zodiac call Libra. So we just got done talking about the Zodiac. We got done talking about the Taurus, the Cancer, the Leo. And now we're seeing a message that's coming through the newspaper that actually says call Libra. Well, who the heck is Libra? I think you might have answered that in your solve if your solve is correct. So you worked this over for me after I sent it over to you, and you substituted in your step one, you substituted the symbol for the letter based on the Sergeant Lynch key code letter, which is just what I did, correct?
Pretty much it, but the one
you added the words a message to Zodiac because as your solves indicate, you include and use all information.
It's so you use for Zodiac.
Right. So after you did that, then you assigned numbers and accounted for all the 58 letters, correct?
Yeah, pretty much. Yep. So,
and then you anagram. What's that?
It's easier to keep track that way. It's just how it works. So shall I read it?
Well, I'm just trying to give everybody the foundation for how you got there. In step 3, you anagram all the letters into a message, and you account for all 58 letters by numbering the tops of them so that everybody can see you used every single one from the message. And your message actually, yes, go ahead and tell us what this one, don't give me the full on, just give me what those letters came out to say.
Well, I'm just going to say really quickly, the two words even, instead of 7, they were code keys. So I said, oh, I need to turn this a certain way. Anyways, he says Z, DF, use same last caliber gun. Anyways, he's saying Z because he just killed Darlene Ferrin. He's saying use same last caliber gun, execute order. There you go. I see it a lot. Donna with the clever shot ESR NEV or N, but that's is the East.
Okay. Yeah. Hold on. We're going to get to that. I just wanted you to tell them what letters made the message that you are now going to comprise from what you would call, I guess, an acronym at this point that you were extremely used to seeing in these particular messages. So you know what these acronyms stand for, and that gives you this overall message. So go ahead and read that for us.
It's Zodiac, Darlene Ferrin, pause, use same, last, pause, caliber, gun, so, execute order, Donna with the clever shot, East State Line round or roundabout, Nevada, from Nixon, Richard Nixon, President Nixon. And so it's an execute order.
It's a what?
It's an execute order. He's saying, get ready. There's now the execute order for last.
Which would also make sense that they are just now currently in this article, they are talking about the stabbing of Cecilia Shepard. No, actually, I don't think I can read this article, so I'm not exactly sure. It is saying Hartnell, so they are definitely talking about the Lake Berryessa stuff. And of course, that means that the murder's already been committed. So this came at some point after September, but I'm not exactly sure of the date. So I really do need to source the article, who and when, and what does this article say. But the message, obviously, is the key point here. And that message now appears to state that Richard Nixon is actively writing back the Zodiac.
Yep. Yeah. Amazing.
Now, when I got into some of this stuff, because of course we had Donna Lass, I had her up on here last week because of Moonlight making the statement that she believed that this could be Donna Lass's skull. It was found in a laundry bag. She did not indicate where, so I'm going to again have to source some of this information. But I thought, since we're given the hit order on Donna Lass and he wants her to be shot with the same caliber gun as you said, Darlene Ferrin. I don't see any type of damage to the skull here, at least from this view. There may be something on the other side I can't see, but that message would then indicate that he was to shoot and take her out, correct?
It was to do, I believe it ended up being both. He shoots her with the gun, but he'd actually drugged her first.
Gotcha.
With the same stuff that was used against Marilyn Monroe. So she's drugged but he's got her to the roundabout and he shoots her there.
Well, and everybody needs to know that Jack, working for South Lake Tahoe Linen Company, obviously having access to laundry bags and uniforms and other types of laundry that is processed through this plant, would actually tie into some truth with this. I know that there are other murders. I guess Moonlight has indicated there are other murders where the remains were found inside of laundry bags. I know in the Oakland County child killer case, he actually taught the accomplice, and I say that with heavy air quotes, writing to Dr. Danto, says that, he brings them in and stuffed in clothes hampers. No one here knows the difference. So it sounds to me like it's a really good way for the mob to move things, is in laundry bags and through laundry companies. And I think we've talked about in the past several murders that occurred in the San Francisco area where there were folded uniforms or laundry working its way up or away from the crime scene. Okay. Yes. So we'll be getting to those in the future as well. That brings us to this card that's actually written to Richard Nixon, which may play into the whole him and Richard Nixon are having this conversation.
I'm going to have to do this one.
Right?
Next in line for me.
And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why you have to do this one, because I got extremely interested in it after looking at some of the lettering. We do see that this one is mailed to Richard Nixon in 1974. The website that I found it on indicated they question it as a Zodiac communication, but they also question it as to whether or not it was written from the SLA. When we know that the Zodiac wrote a SLA Norse word means kill a friend. And we know that that's adverse to what the SLA movement is, which they are very concerned with the way Blacks are being treated, the misconduct by the police officers at the time, the underreporting of the information in the newspaper, or the disinformation that the newspaper's printing against those Black lives that have been killed, and then they're calling out Hearst. So there's this great big huge conglomeration of people who are very upset with Hearst, and I think that Hearst is being used, well, he's probably right up in the mix of this whole entire thing. I would probably have to put some money on that. Anyways, let's take a look at this card real quick, and I'm just going to show you a few letters. The first one I noticed was the letter N. Terry B, you're going to love this. These are actually the N's from the secret witness letter from, yeah. So I automatically, when I saw that N, I was like, oh, I got goosebumps right now. I'm like, oh my gosh, I know that N. Let me go see where I found it before. So again, tying back into, and it's really kind of more the era, because this postcard is 1974 and the Oakland County child murders begin in 1976. I actually think they begin a little earlier. There's a series of murders that are a few years before that. And that the 76, 77 murders were the ending of it, but law enforcement did not smack those killings of children together. So they are kind of bifurcated and they don't look like it's the same killer, or at least that's the way they make it look. I also noticed the letter G. This is Jack's G. We've got this heavy overhang of the G that's falling over sideways again, very similar to what Jack does. We also have that wide, fat number 6 almost looking G. This one, I believe I pulled out of, I think the Atlanta child Georgia killer letters, that particular G. I did look at Jack's Z's, the concern, or this would have been the Channel 9 newsletter Z right here, as reference to the Z that's found in here. And then, of course, I started to see all these wonky T's from the Atlanta, Georgia stuff. And those wonky T's definitely we see all the way throughout, and that T that doesn't cross all the way over, so it stops just short before it passes to the right, as seen in one of the anthrax letters. We can actually see that occurring up here in these as well. Also, that can't,
these traits, you know, they're all for a reason.
And that those concave T-bars that we're seeing again here with that pressure from above, which could be pressure from his handlers or others that he's working with. Either way, I also took a look at the capital N in Nixon. This is Jackson. This is the N in the Tom Voight letter. And this is the N in the, which one did I pull that one from? Oh my gosh, probably should have labeled that. Either way, this is taken from the presentation on the handwriting that I've already done with everybody. And I just wanted to take some quick looks and see how it fared out and whether or not I was going to want to take a look at it. But I also recognize other N's in there that are consistent with the communications, the W and the way that it's formed. And so I'm going to do a complete rundown on this, but we're going to wait until 1974 for that to happen. However, this postcard, the making of a Zodiac Killer communication, is the fact that it is a postcard. It names Patty Hearst, which we know is, definitely delivering great news, right, for her father to sell lots and lots and lots of newspapers, with her being involved with a bank robbery. It is to Richard Nixon, which is confirming some of your solves, Harriet. I did take note to the letters that we just discussed. It does say concerned citizen, which is a Zodiac reference as well. It has the sideways Christmas stamp up here at the top, and it may even be over postaged. I'm not sure what a postcard ran back in these days, but this is an 8-cent stamp that's applied sideways here. For Freedom runs us back to the DB Revolution, the Georgette Bauerdorf Divine Retribution, and the Black Dahlia Justified, or the statements that he makes that I have to or I must kill you. It's a have to more than a want to is what he makes it sound like.
That same stamp is used on the DB Cooper, one of the DB Cooper letters, that exact same stamp.
Can I point out a couple of things?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, you notice the quotation marks on the White House there?
Yes.
And you notice how the W is 2 V's?
Yes, that's why I was saying that same structure.
And does that say Dear King on the upper left-hand corner?
It does, King, and I was kind of wondering
and
who.
Tim King, as in Tim King pending, which I've told you he's been threatening to kill Tim King since 1969.
Right, and this is just 3 years previous to that happening.
look at the structure of the letters, like with Patty Hearst, and wow, that thing's
Right.
loaded for bear, isn't it? It's just, jeez.
Yes, it is. Either it again is a group of people who are working together that are they know all of the facts in order to be able to compile or put something like this together. Clearly,
Dag nabbit almost. It says her daughter Dag.
That G with the square around it is one of the ones from my handwriting presentation and other.
Oh, you added that over the top? You overlaid that?
Yeah. We can take
but
it.
It's
we
still
can take a
DAGHTER, though, isn't it?
No, there's a U in there. It's just behind the G. So I've covered up some of the information.
But there's a space though in the two sections, though, right?
Well, yeah, it would be DAUG and then HTER.
You're right. I do like those M's. That's cool. That's very cool.
Yeah, I was blown away.
Boy, structure. I mean, tell you, structure. Wow, the whole work.
Right?
Yeah,
it's screaming Jack 101.
It is. Really. It absolutely
Zodiac
is.
Jack
For many
101.
reasons.
Absolutely. Very cool.
Then look, here's another one of those number 6 G's.
Yep.
You know what? Can I say something really quick? When you see my solves, I have to purposely do something with the G. We got the health helicopter going to the hospital. Anyways, I notice I'm doing the same thing. I think Jack is probably trying to say this is supposed to be a G, not a 6. Huh. So clarifying, because I have that same problem. So I'm like, where am I getting this from?
Yeah, or duplicity. He's saying more than one thing, that's for sure.
Absolutely. There's 2 and 3 messages, and that's what we're finding. So clearly, even with the message that came to the Zodiac or a message for the Zodiac, when I solved it, it's saying call Libra. Who's Libra, and what does this phone number go
G.
to?
Gordon Liddy, I think.
What's that?
L for G. Gordon Liddy.
I don't know who that is.
Oh, G. Gordon Liddy was his White House lawyer, but also he was very much involved with Nixon at that time period and the Watergate era stuff.
He was a fixer for Nixon. He was was he one of the plumbers or something they call the plumber? No, he was a fixer. He was a go-to. He'd do anything for Nixon. He was totally dedicated to Nixon.
I got some messages that are involving G. Gordon Liddy that were meant for Nixon. Pass this through. I got hundreds of these by now, but anyways, that's just an educated guess. The L would be for Liddy.
Well, then let's move into those anthrax solves. I mean, clearly you said a stenographic method on this particular one, but it accounts for all the letters once again, like the system we just showed. And this is the message that you came up with. So maybe you can read this to us and then tell us what it means.
Jack is very crazy at this time. So I was very blown away by this. I'll be really
This is 2001. So this is like September 18th or something like that, following the attack on the Twin Towers. These are letters that are mailed with anthrax by a 4th grader, which we'll address at another time. But I did make the connection between the 4th grader. So yes, go ahead and read that solve to us.
This is which letter is this one? Let's see. Okay, this is I think Dashel. He's complete.
A911 special. That's
Yeah.
Well, I called it A911, so Anthrax 911 special. So it's
Tom Voigt at the upper left-hand corner.
I know, right? So here's the crazy thing: we know that the Zodiac writes Tom Voigt in 2002 and 2003 personally. He sends letters to him. Here, Harriet's saying that the solve, albeit it's anthrax letter mailed to Dashel, it's actually a message when decoded to Tom Voigt. So let's let her read it, and then we can all just talk about it.
It's Tom Voigt, location, the Z and the 0. He's been at million zeros. I had to put Z's in them so I wouldn't get confused. So this is Tom Voigt, located at 1631 Broadway Northeast, number 332, Portland, Oregon. Stop petty fight with Dennis. Mom, Tattletale, show. Most Wanted, America's Most Wanted, that was located at, 12/28/98. That was the show. I sent Anthrax, die in ICU. You're correct regarding Swindle, Lee Bowers II, and then EO for execute order. So this EO FNJ, that's Faraday and Jensen, EO Farron, EO Shepard, EO Stein, EO Lass, DB Cooper, 1952 USO entertainment attorney Warren Andrews, 52 years old, Land's End, die June 22nd, 75. Giancana, die June 1975. John Bonet, 1996.
Wow.
Herman, Get Even, 07-1201. That's a long story, but anyways, now he's saying to tell the truth, circa 1942, Richard Nixon suggested use 1782 seceded era Zodiac design. I have a ring with that on there. Oh my God, coincidence. Anyways, seceded era Zodiac design, DC, District of Columbia, Charles L'Enfant Zodiac design. And then it's the location and a Z with the 0 in it for ground zero code. And then he's saying, he's trying to talk to all of us. FYI, Sergeant Lynch card is an anagram that says to use Zodiac letter located on 3-port cipher, watch for, using the word for, anyways, misspelt words and odd punctuation, then choose code keys for message. 1970s, President John F. Kennedy autopsy, located photos, located under Earthrise stamp, sent October 28th, 1970. That's a Halloween card envelope. And he's saying President Carter refused to pay, so I robbed Mar-a-Lago of Eisenhower fingerprint coin toy. It's a biometric. Anyways, now he's going on to Texas I-45 killer. He's pissed off that people are blaming him for things he did not do. So he's saying Texas I-45 killer, wrong. NASA pest able avenged Columbia Broadcasting System North American singer Janis, killed by knockout Colette Wilson, i.e. is thereafter Gonzalez. That's then R.A., that's Robert Abel, and then Paul D. Craven, both of them killed his own sister. Paul D. Craven is a NASA guy too. Anyways, killed Allison Craven. Then I.E., that's thereafter R.A., killed Bracewell and Gear. There are 2 Brenda K. Jones. That's true. I got them both decoded. Negro was killed by John Edward Walsh II. The white Brenda K. Jones and father was killed by Reve. Then adding R.A., which is Robert Abel. He's involved in that too. John and Ed Bell. Oh my God. Then he's saying Ed Bell killed Kimberly Pitchford. And then Michael Lloyd Self killed Sean Johnson. They actually were arrested for that. But anyways, Susie Q. Bowers killed by Robert
Self,
Abel.
he has the same last name as Letha.
Exactly. So anyways, is Susie Q. Bowers killed by R.A., that's Robert Abel, Pest. Then he goes on to something really big. Pest and NASA, Ralph Casasanto killed the following. Harold and Tina Klaus, 1980, i.e. then that means afterwards, thereafter. Garvey, 1982, thereafter, i.e. Phi, 1983, thereafter. It's Laura Miller, 1984. Thereafter, Prudhomme. I hadn't done Prudhomme, but he's saying it right here. That's who killed Prudhomme, 1991. Then he's saying currently, lately, I copy. Now he's crazy. I mean, he's just way out there. I copy Hyatt Regency, Princeton, location 08540. That's the zip code. Security guard on duty. Cut face out. Taped my Terrence face in. Used CIA as an Eisenhower coin fingerprint toy, a biometric, plus the DB Cooper code 717171684 at the Department of Defense location, which is Frederick. Anyways, and got the weapons grade anthrax and ricin too. He's all, I mean, he's
ricin.
Oh my God. Then he says success. And I sent 5 number 10 USPS postal stationery envelope with 100% WMD anthrax to Tom Daschle location. And he's just putting in for this particular decode the entire zip code of Washington, D.C., where the White House is located. He's wiping, he's crazy. So anyways, and so that's Leahy et al., Capitol Hill, White House, everything. But anyways, he's saying also to the location of NBC, the location for Wynn, that's Kathy Wynn. She's a Vietnam spy. Anyways, then he's just saying, asshole at Connecticut. That's a Bush connection. And then he's saying an Editor Stevens, and he explains why he's going after Editor Stevens. It's pictures that he ended up in, and it got sold to AMI with John, that he killed John Benet Ramsey. Anyways, he's then saying, and this is true, if you look at the stories, oh my God, 30% spores with Purina dog food crumbs to New York Post. That was true. They found it. Had dog food crumbs in it. Okay, and then he's saying, FYI, for your information, Berryessa located hood is inside voted most ugliest man. That's Janis Joplin PA system, and he's signing off as Zodiac.
Wow.
He's crazy.
No, that's crazy.
And I can just quickly explain. I had to identify everything on these envelopes. Everything.
I think I have notepad paper that either has Hyatt or Hilton on it that Jack had formed a message of. So I'm going to go back and see if that confirms the Hyatt Regency Princeton stuff.
Well, you repeat. You said you used everything, including everything.
I had to identify the envelope. I think this is the Daschle one.
Okay.
So you had to give the full name of Thomas Joseph Daschle. I'm trying to remember, and then the correct address. They put the wrong address, and he had to correct the address, and then everything, because this is a particular. It's a giant stamp that's pre-stamped, and he's saying that the eagle is there's so much information. I had to identify everything about that, and then anagram it, and it came out with this.
That's amazing. That's interesting.
And it's a fact that they said that they found Purina dog food crumbs in the New York Post. And where did Jack work briefly at? Wasn't he something to do with as a security guard at Purina?
Yes, he worked for Purina Mills in Arizona in, I want to say, 1983, 1985, something like that. Yeah, no, that it is. It's nailing on some things. So basically, his letter then to Tim Miller stating that he was the last one to have seen his daughter alive and more doesn't necessarily mean that he's taking credit for having killed her. But he does mention at the bottom of that letter from Tim Miller that the Blue Devil or the League City Devil NASA Abel was not the devil that was being sought.
Because the guy who's still alive is Robert. The guy who's still alive, I have that.
I think Robert A. supposedly committed suicide.
Is still alive, so he's trying to say, and I have that whole thing decoded. I got 45 pages of work done that ended up at, I think it's 10 pages for the solve. I have a friend who said, I think you got a whole book out of that. I wasn't intending this. I was trying to finish the Texas I-45 killer cases. And if you could allow me to read.
Yeah, I don't know a lot of these names, so it'll be interesting as I catch up with you about who all these people are.
As cool as it gets. It's as cool as it gets.
But let's get back to this. Because there's another solve where he identifies exactly who's the asshole at Connecticut.
Is that this one here?
That's funny.
It's Ottilie Lundgren.
Does it start stepson Dennis Kaufman or?
Let's see, which one is this one?
I want to say that this one is pretty much the same thing. Portland,
it's
Oregon.
Almost.
Oh, come on.
Okay, Leahy's interesting. Oh my God, he's saying a lot here. He changes it a little bit. I had to redo the Patrick Joseph.
Okay, we only got 6 minutes left, so if you're going to get this solve out, let's get it out.
Okay, this is again everything that was on the envelope and correct all kinds of stuff. So let's go for it. Okay, Tom Voigt location, 1631 Broadway Northeast, number 332, Portland, Oregon. Stop Petty. Oh, this is the Stop Petty Fight still. Hold on a second.
Tattletale. Let's see, show America's. Okay, so how about this one? Yo's stepson, Dennis Kaufman.
Oh my God! Can I read that? Can you make it a little bit larger?
I cannot from where I'm at. You don't have it?
I got it. Hold on. Oh my God! Where's my phone? There's my phone. I can get this on here. I'll be really quick.
Or I can read it because we've literally only got about 6 minutes now, and I still have to sign off.
Go for it.
Yo, stepson Dennis Kaufman. Nora called December 28, 98. I sent anthrax I sent anthrax mail. Mother die, ICU. And this is true because Nora's already passed, right?
Yes. He's just he's trying to recap and saying what happened.
I avenged 68 East. Oh, it is kind of hard to read.
Mekong Delta. Mekong Delta.
Okay. Grenade victim SP4 Jesse Kuhn. Pursue Warren F. Andrews' nephew Alan, friend Totsie. Bicycle hit Harriman, knee taught Tran. Now missing. 30-year treasury bill. 7/12/01. I shot her in League City. She died. I dumped Continental East Matagorda Bay, Texas. Lately, I access Department of Defense Fort Detrick AIM strain with CIA fingerprint Eisenhower toy plus the code 717171684. Pleased to see ear throat worker who escaped when Saigon fell. War spy Nguyen in blue and gray scrubs. PPE on NBC after Twin Towers fell. I.e., therefore, thereafter on CD. I have it
here.
Okay, go ahead.
Let's see. It says, let's get past the bicycle hit Harmon. He's avenging Jesse James Kuhn saved his son Denny in the Mekong Delta, and Tran was driving. So that was a personal thing. So
Jesse James Kuhn, he just got busted.
What was that?
Come back to that. That Jesse James, he just landed in federal prison, I believe, for drug trafficking.
Oh no, Jesse
well, you gotta crack up right now because you do believe that the Walsh was involved with the drug trafficking. Tim Miller, there was evidence from him telling Dennis that he had been involved in something like this when his daughter went missing. So it's interesting that you bring that up.
That's something I found elsewhere. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. We'll talk about that later.
He's saying that. He's saying that he accessed after the Twin Towers fell. He's saying that he got the postal stationery envelopes sent to George Bush location in Connecticut, the Bronx. Then he's saying that's Kathy when Brokaw. He's doing a recap, but he's saying that he sent it to American media. Why he sent to American media? Ugly Passy Lie. See Boulder, Colorado resident Oliva. He sit little JonBenet on rug, ate Jello, and then snap the 110 camera. It's a 110 camera photos as Navy Torrance, him, gag, circle the neck, strangle, and then he's pissed off that P.I. Gray lie and sold the photos to American media's editor, so for top coin. So he's also saying that he sent the 30% spores with, of course, Farina dog food crumbs, New York. And then he's saying, obits coming, JT. He's signing it off JT.
Wow.
He's but he's crazy. He's really...
well, he's telling the truth, though, isn't he? That's all too that's so circumspect. The whole works. It's good. It's good information.
So how many minutes do we have?
We have about 2 minutes left. If you want to read off those last two right there, I think that those are the end. Yep. Read off the Federal Eagle issue date, January 7th, 2001. Do you have that one? Eagle design, hashtag number 187, based on a Charles Thompson design adopted by the Continental Congress. Oh, that's the information. So your actual
that's evidence. But he, for some reason, was focusing on this, and this took apparently years to do. And they knew that this was going to eventually come out. He's planning this years in advance, but he's really out there. But so
we have 1 minute left. Thomas John Brokaw, National Broadcasting Television Studio, 3C30 Rockefeller Plaza on 6th Avenue, also known as Avenue of the Americas between 49th Street. Oh, so is this just more information? That's the evidence
that was used. So then it comes into here. That's where it comes out as Yo's stepson, Dennis Kaufman. Hello. And he's only sent one to Dennis. He's crazy. Do you think Dennis is getting these? I'm sorry.
No, he's not figuring this out. So what did you want to say real quick, Terry?
Crazy like a fox, that's for sure. I mean,
right? But I just want to say he found it. He's finding himself by 2003. He's got his soul cleaned up, and he's saying he's going to go after Robert Abel, and he does go after
that.
Robert. So I'm happy
absolutely
to say
awesome.
That.
We will take more time later to go ahead and look at this. I just want to take a second, obviously, to remember all the victims
Harriet,
that fell in 9/11.
Exactly.
You guys. I have to sign off. I have to get out of here. So I want everybody to take a second to remember the 9/11 victims, all that was involved with this. But we do know that did assist Bush, even the anthrax letters, in being able to go to war. Everybody have a wonderful weekend. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next Friday. Thanks so much. Bye, you guys. Thank you, Terry. Thank you, Harriet. Oh,